For decades, getting signed by a major corporate record label was considered the golden ticket to international stardom. The traditional playbook was burned into the mind of every aspiring singer. Compete for a spot on a high-profile television talent show, catch the eye of an executive, secure a multi-album deal, and wait for commercial FM radio stations to blast your singles across the airwaves. If you couldn't get heavy rotation on prime radio slots, your career was practically dead on arrival. The entire music infrastructure was designed around gatekeepers who decided who made it and who was quietly swept under the rug. So what happens when the biggest broadcasting networks completely refuse to play your tracks, and the reality TV competition that gave you your first big break eliminates you before the grand finale? For 99% of musicians, that moment marks the abrupt end of their 15 minutes of fame. But one young British singer decided to challenge this centuries-old system entirely. Instead of begging traditional executives for a chance at mainstream distribution, she took a path so unconventional that it fundamentally exposed commercial radio as an obsolete middleman. When 14-year-old Lucy Thomas stepped onto the stage of The Voice Kids UK in 2018, her voice immediately commanded the room. Her rendition of dramatic, emotionally complex ballads left judges and studio audiences stunned. She wasn't singing simple, repetitive pop tunes. She was delivering soaring, theatrical vocals with a level of control that rivaled seasoned West End veterans. On paper, she possessed every single quality required to become a household name. Yet, despite delivering consistent, pitch-perfect performances week after week, her journey on the show came to a sudden halt when she was eliminated in the semifinals. To the average viewer, hitting a dead end in a reality TV semifinal is a professional death sentence. The entertainment industry is littered with the forgotten names of television contestants who went viral for a brief month, only to fade into complete anonymity once the camera crews packed up. Behind the scenes, these reality shows often lock contestants into restrictive short-term options, while offering very little long-term career support. The unwritten law of the music business dictates that if millions of television voters won't carry you into first place, commercial radio program managers certainly won't take a risk on putting your music into high-rotation playlists. But that crushing loss on national television wasn't the tragic end of her story. It was the exact turning point that set her free. To understand why her subsequent success was so revolutionary, you have to look closely at how the commercial radio system actually operates behind closed doors. Major FM radio networks don't pick songs based purely on artistic merit or genuine fan demand. Instead, station directors rely on hyper-calculated algorithms, corporate advertiser demands, and strict genre classifications designed to hold short attention spans during morning commutes. They favor 3-minute pop tracks with heavy synth loops, fast-paced rhythms, and immediate hooks that serve as background noise for casual listeners. Vocalists who specialize in musical theater, epic ballads, or classical crossover music face a virtually impenetrable wall. Mainstream programmers label these genres as too niche or too intense for standard top 40 radio rotations. Independent artists without corporate label backing find it nearly impossible to even get their master tracks reviewed by station managers. For generations, this invisible monopoly effectively snuffed out world-class vocalists who refused to alter their artistic identity to fit a rigid pop template. But while traditional executives were busy guarding their outdated broadcasting towers, a massive digital shift was quietly sweeping across the global music landscape. Facing an industry that offered no obvious path forward, Lucy and her family made a decision that left conventional industry managers completely baffled. Rather than chasing meetings with major labels, who likely would have demanded complete creative control, forced stylistic changes, and locked her into predatory contracts, she aligned herself with Cavendish Records. This newly formed independent entity, spearheaded by producer and songwriter Chris Broom, was founded on a simple yet radical premise: prioritize pure vocal performance and timeless songwriting over fast-acting radio trends. Starting an independent label from scratch with zero corporate backing was a massive financial and strategic gamble. Cavendish Records had no influence over mainstream radio programmers, no access to corporate publicity tour, and no multi-million-dollar marketing budgets to buy prime ad placements. Every penny had to be deployed with precision, and every release had to stand entirely on its own musical merit. They couldn't rely on manufactured media drama or manufactured radio hypes to buy attention. They were taking on a multi-billion-dollar corporate machine using nothing more than a microphone, a camera, and an unwavering belief in authentic talent. And what happened next would send shockwaves through the entire record industry. With conventional radio channels completely locked off, the team turned their full attention toward direct digital video distribution. But instead of attempting to game the system with cheap social media trends, viral dances, or exaggerated online personality gimmicks, they took the exact opposite approach. They treated video platforms as a direct, unvarnished window into the recording studio. The focus remained entirely on raw vocal power, crystal-clear sound engineering, and deep emotional resonance. When Lucy entered the studio to record her cover of the iconic ballad, Hallelujah, the song had already been covered thousands of times by some of the biggest names in history. Yet from the moment her version hit the internet, it triggered a massive, global chain reaction. Listeners weren't stumbling across her track as random background noise while driving in their cars. They were actively watching her sing, mesmerized by her control and emotional transparency. The video rapidly crossed tens of millions of views, eventually surging past 70 million plays on YouTube alone. Without receiving a single spin on commercial FM radio, her recorded performances were generating streaming numbers that rivaled chart-topping singles backed by international media conglomerates. The internet algorithm was doing what radio programmers refused to do, delivering real vocal talent directly to millions of eager listeners worldwide. Just as the initial wave of digital momentum began to take off, critics within the traditional industry argued that online viral hits were nothing more than temporary flukes. Skeptics claimed that internet audiences were notoriously fickle, and that a digital would quickly move on to the next passing viral sensation. To build lasting momentum and prove the skeptics wrong, Lucy introduced a dynamic that transformed her channel from a rising cover channel into an unstoppable cultural force. She invited her younger sister, Thomas, into the studio to record a series of breathtaking vocal duets. When the two sisters released their rendition of You Raise Me Up, the internet response was instantaneous. Their natural vocal blend, effortless harmonies, and obvious family bond created an authentic connection that no corporate marketing campaign could ever fabricate. Track after track, including emotional covers of legendary anthems like In the Arms of an Angel and A Thousand Years, racked up tens of millions of views. By bypassing the cynical machinery of modern public relations, they built an incredibly loyal, cross-generational audience that stretched across every continent. Video by video, these independent releases were outperforming mainstream singles that had millions of dollars in corporate push behind them. While digital streaming numbers look impressive on a computer screen, the true test of any music career is converting online views into actual commercial independence and physical ticket sales. Many internet creators with millions of digital followers struggle to sell a few hundred tickets to a live show or sell physical albums. But Lucy's team executed in direct-to-consumer monetization. Instead of relying solely on fractional streaming payouts, they built an ecosystem where fans could directly purchase physical CDs, high-quality vinyl records, and exclusive merchandise directly from her independent label store. The results completely shattered expectations. Album after album, from Premonition and Encore to Timeless, Breathe and Beyond, consistently dominated independent charts. The fans she cultivated online didn't just passively listen to free clips, they actively funded her career by purchasing every piece of music she produced. This financial independence allowed her to step out from behind the studio screen and onto the theatrical stage. By her early 20s, she was invited to premiere original musical theater works, leading West End cast recordings and performing live alongside full 30-piece orchestras to sold-out theater audiences in London. The teenager whom radio stations ignored had successfully built a sustainable, highly lucrative musical empire without ever signing away her independence. The unprecedented rise of Lucy Thomas exposed a massive, structural flaw in the traditional music business. For over half a century, major record labels acted as feudal gatekeepers, convincing young artists that they needed to surrender their master rights, royalty percentages, and creative freedom in exchange for radio promotion and retail distribution. Labels routinely spent millions lobbying broadcast networks to secure radio slots, passing those enormous promotional costs directly onto the artists as debt. If a radio station rejected a single, the record label would often shelve the artist's entire album, destroying careers before they even started. Lucy's independent success completely dismantled that high-risk corporate model. By owning her master recordings through Cavendish Records and distributing directly to her audience via video platforms and streaming services, she retained total creative freedom and a drastically higher percentage of her earnings. She demonstrated that in the modern digital era, an artist doesn't need the blessing of a corporate radio executive to build a multi-million stream career. When you cultivate a direct, genuine connection with an audience, the traditional middleman becomes completely irrelevant. Lucy Thomas didn't just survive the cutthroat reality of modern talent shows. She completely transformed the framework of what it means to be an independent musician in the 21st century. Her incredible trajectory from a semi-final elimination on The Voice Kids UK to a West End star with over 1 million dedicated subscribers and hundreds of millions of streams serves as in resilience and modern strategy. She proved that pure talent, strategic independence, and authentic emotional connection will always overpower rigid corporate gatekeeping. Her story stands as a bold blueprint for future generations of creators who find themselves rejected by traditional broadcasting networks. As commercial radio continues to lose its grip on global culture, one fundamental truth has been made glaringly clear. You never need permission from an industry gatekeeper to build a lasting legacy when you already hold the hearts of a dedicated global audience.